All right, here we go. Well, 2011 Street Glide. We did the top end rebuild on the motor, and a lot of intrusion, corrosion, like heavy, like seriously heavy. So the owner redid his gas tank. I mean, it was a lot of heavy corrosion. So explain the process step by step, like what you did here.
Oh, with the corrosion, it was pretty rusted. So white vinegar was like a 2-day step process. Fill it up with the tank, 1 gallon to a quarter part water.
Okay.
Whatever.
So it was 4 to 1.
Yeah.
Okay, 4 to 1 of white vinegar, and that tore up the
That
rust.
tore up most of the rust itself, and then I was researching a little bit more, and there's a product called The Works, which is a toilet bowl cleaner.
But for the white vinegar, you had to let it sit full for a while.
I let it sit full for 2 days.
2 days, filled the gas tank with white vinegar for 4 to 1. So it's 4 to white vinegar to 1 water.
Right, 1 part,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And then drained it.
Uh-huh.
Let it soak for 2 days in this The Works, which is another additive detergent that has a little bit of acid to it.
Oh, where'd you get that from?
I got it at like a Dollar Tree, dollar store.
Oh, okay.
It was a
All
dollar,
right.
a dollar
The
a
Works.
bottle.
What was it, like a degreaser or floor cleaner? Or?
It is basically a toilet bowl cleaner.
Toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Okay, toilet
so
bowl
it cleans
cleaner.
all the calcium and the rust marks that you get supposedly in toilet bowls and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
Rinsed it,
Uh-huh.
and then you're supposed to put to neutralize all the chemicals inside there, baking soda. So rinse that with like
Okay,
a
you
half
pre-dissolve baking soda.
pre-dissolved baking soda, about a half a box of it, with some water, and then you just shake it around and rinse it and move it all throughout the tank.
So baking soda solvency with water, like a 1 to 2.
Yeah, 1 to 2. Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably had about 2 to 3 gallons of water rinsing it with that.
Okay, with a half box, and that neutralize all the acids.
That neutralized all the
Okay.
acids
All
and all the
right.
cleaning products that we put in there.
Okay.
Then just a clear rinse. I had a heat gun to kind of dry it out. Dried it
Uh-huh.
out.
How long did that take on the dry out heat gun?
About an hour and a half just to get it really
like
dry.
a paint stripper heat gun type thing?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah,
okay.
yeah. That way you don't get none of that flashing, that rust, because otherwise it'll sit there and it'll flash.
Right, exactly.
So as
and
fast as you
flashy
can.
means?
Flashing is just like a surface rust that builds up because of the moisture that's still in there.
Right.
So it's not rust, but it's like a powdery residue that sits on the side.
Okay, so basically like the paint stripper, hair dryer looking type of a gun.
Right.
Does it well for
It
how
does
long?
it well. I did it for like about an hour and a half just to make sure it
I
was
do
dry.
like 15 minutes on that sucker, man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I got a product that was called Red Coat, which is a tank sealer.
Okay, let's look at that.
Red Coat tank sealer.
And the tank sealer is now you're trying to do preventative work on
Preventative, yes.
Yeah, preventative work. So tank sealer's online. You can't buy it at a store.
You couldn't find it in any auto parts store, Pep Boys,
Support.
AutoZone.
How long? How much?
This can itself tells you that it will cover 12-gallon tank.
Oh, okay.
So about a half. I put a little bit more, about 3/4 of it, so I knew I had enough coverage.
Okay.
And
So
dumped it in.
So there's no solution reducing. You just
No
direct.
solution reducer. Run direct. It's kind of like a syrup bead. So when you go in there,
How gooey though?
not gooey at all. It's like a syrup.
It's
When you-
like a pancake.
like a pancake
Aunt
syrup when you
Jemima.
put it exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But once
Aunt
it's
Jemima
now
stuff.
released to the air, that's
Yeah.
when the drying process starts to take. So
Oh, okay.
you want to keep your tank sealed when you
Yeah.
dump it in, so you can do the coverage. But once you take off the top where you dumped it in, or you pull the bottom out where you're draining the residue out
Right.
and the excess out, it will start to harden immediately. So
Oh.
then you can dump it back in here.
like
You can reuse.
Like 3 minutes, 15 minutes hardening time.
It'll start to set up in probably about 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I noticed it starting to coagulate.
So when you put that in, you pretty much had to upside down it with your hand and
upside
motion.
down it, roll the
Okay.
tank upside down.
So
just
you capped it, right?
capped it. Yeah, I made a little
Okay.
top, capped it so I can roll
So
it.
did you use your cap or you just tape it off or what'd
No,
you do?
I had made a little fitment that fits right on top.
Because that
of the
shit will get
opening.
right in here.
Yeah,
right?
we don't want it in any
So
of the,
don't use
the
your don't use
process.
your OEM cap,
Don't
right?
use your OEM
Could probably
cap.
gaff tape would be good right here, right?
You could, but
Yeah.
once again, this top part also has all your electronics to it.
Yeah. Oh.
So you don't want that on there either. So I made just a coffee can that I had.
yeah.
I made a seal. and
Did you-
taped it shut.
Did you pull the whole fuel pump system out before you did it?
Oh yeah, everything's
Okay.
got to come out.
So that means you pulled the send system down here.
Yep, I pulled out the check valve.
You put off the check valve, and
Check
then
valve,
so
all
that
fuel pump, the
bare
fuel-
tank. And how did you seal down there in the check valve?
The check valve actually works out just perfectly for a wine bottle cap, a cork.
Oh, okay, cork.
Slide it right up, fit right in there.
All right. So it beats the cream coating and the acid,
Beats the
muriatic
cream
acid.
coating, yeah, we didn't have to do the muriatic acid.
How acidic is this stuff right here?
Not very. No, it's not very bad at all. It's
Yeah.
actually it's supposed to be with resistant of alcohols and most fuel additives. So it's
Okay.
not supposed to peel. It will actually even cover. They say even some residual rust that's in there that you just maybe couldn't get off there.
Right.
It will cover it and just make a seal bonded to
Oh,
it.
no shit, really? All right, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So after that process of it drying for how long?
I let it dry for 3 days. It
3
says
days.
it'll dry in 8 hours.
Yeah.
I let it dry 3 days. Let it cure as much as possible before I put anything in there.
Okay. So what was your next step after it dried off?
After it dried off, I went ahead and put all the guts back into the tank itself. The
Right,
fuel pump,
fuel pump and all that.
the fuel leveler, bleed off valve, the check valve. Reinstalled that, reinstalled it to the bike, and put some gas in and try to get this rolling.
Okay, so basically all we're experiencing now is just the tinting of the gas, pretty light, right?
Pretty light, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a chemical, which they said, that may last a couple of months that you get. It's completely red, so
Yeah.
you can kind of see the coverage, so it's easy to see.
Did you rinse it all after you
No,
on the drying
none of this.
time?
Nope.
No rinsing?
No
Okay.
rinsing on the drying time.
No gas rinse at all?
No gas rinse, no nothing.
Wow, you
Nope.
just went direct.
Just
Okay.
went direct with it.
Okay, so what we experience here now is go grab the regulators and let's put them on here because I want to explain the nightmare we just went through. Yeah. All right. Let's put them on. Okay, so there's your fuel regulator. Now, part of the problem when he started putting this back together into his unit is the pump wouldn't shut off, and the overflow out of this point, because it's a regulator, was just continuously dispersing fuel inside the tank, the in-tank, fuel injector system. So we started hunting all these different components. Can you just take that apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just trying to figure out why we were getting continuous flow, and he had gotten 3 new ones, so we weren't dealing with default, and I blow through that and it doesn't come out, so it's sealed and it pressurizes up. And long story short, we're chasing rabbits on this whole thing. We tried even doubling up on this O-ring because the measurement of the new ones to the original and the thickness side was just about 0.02 less, which we thought maybe it got loose and this ring wasn't pressed. So we actually put 2 of these on, but eventually what we found out was, go ahead and explain that.
What ends up happening once you put this regulator back into the housing itself, as we spoke of, when we would prime that tank, we were getting gas just spitting out the bottom, what would be the bottom side of the regulator, which is a pressure release, which it's supposed to be doing. But there is a
But it's continuous, it wasn't shutting off.
It wasn't
Right,
shutting off.
right, okay.
So we did a few fuel tests, and once you put this in the housing, there's the ground wire that has the little set nibbin that's supposed to ground to this. And once you set it in there, that wire was sometimes hitting, sometimes not hitting. So that kind of seemed our problem for that fuel. Once that nibbin didn't hit, or I should say, once that nibbin actually did hit and we kept in constant contact for a ground, it did what it was supposed to do, shut out the ground to turn off of that regulator, and then we had a concealed system.
Yeah, so basically recapping, there's a wire that goes in the housing that touches this round housing, and all it is just a flat tab that pushes up against. We had to push it up against the housing, and I did an ohms test of continuity, and it was not connecting even if it was touching. So what do we do to make that sucker to touch?
To make it touch and to make sure we had steady, good contact, we just took a zip tie to make sure we kept that contact on there so we were getting good reading.
Yeah, so we
So-
did it two ways, right?
Yeah, we did it two
around.
ways. Yeah, we had the wire, which every time we thought, well, all right, let's just go ahead and keep that stable. Well, once you did the wire around the housing of the fuel regulator itself and the fuel filter, it would push that back. So we zip tied that. Then we had the housing where it has, the little tab where it touches. We put a zip tie around around the regulator.
Yeah, so it's
we had constant
Yeah,
contact.
it's like a hook. It's like a hook tab. Just
Right.
Like,
Yeah, it kind of hooks like this, if you will.
Right.
Kind of hook tab.
Right.
But every time you went to touch it, and you move this, it would move it off. You
Yeah.
move that, it would move it off.
Even though if it was touching, we still didn't get continuity.
getting-
so we
right.
had a forced continuity with the zip tie holding that in. And these are brand new units.
Right.
And we're using the used unit of the wiring. And so that was definitely the actual problem after going through everything else, chasing rabbit tails. Yeah, definitely. But we're learning. Right? So just a reminder, if you guys are pulling the fuel pump apart, you're pulling this unit out, and then you have these components of, go ahead and start assembling this one by one.
One by one.
This one goes on.
You have your green bushing,
Right, okay, green bushing.
and we have
Right.
our little O-ring.
And
that
that's for
holds
the
that in.
seal for inner to outer external housing.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And your outside O-ring.
Right.
Then we have the filter itself.
All right, the filter itself. This is the fuel regulator.
That's the
Okay.
fuel regulator, and then it
Okay.
has a O-ring that goes over the top.
And that's the
And
little
that
nipple.
seats. That's the one that seats inside the regulator. When you set that in there, that's what's going to seat inside.
Right, and we thought that maybe because these aftermarket housings were shorter, that the thing was backing off for the pressure and leaking through. But we're trash. That was a rabbit trail.
Right.
Right, and so basically, we found that it was basically when this thing pressurized, the ground signal it needed to send to that wire wasn't sending the ground signal to shut off the fuel pump.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that took us a while. You know, electrical is rabbit trails. So you go down one rabbit trail and you waste all this time, then you back up, go to another trail, and that's just how electrical is. That's why shops don't want to do electrical. All right. So now we're just dealing with the 5,000 RPM startup default problem on the TPS. We tried the programming. Now go ahead and explain. Grab me another one, please. Thank you. Yeah, and go ahead and explain how you reset your TPS on the normal way to TPS reset.
Normal way for Harley TPS reset is we're going to push the throttle forward.
Forward rotation on the
Forward
throttle.
rotation until it ends out. Turn
Okay.
the ignition on. You'll see.
Forward rotation.
Yep, you'll see the key
Key light, and it shuts off.
turns off. Then you're supposed to turn off the system,
Yeah.
release the throttle,
Okay.
and repeat that process 3
Okay.
to 4 times.
Okay. Do it again so I can get it all in one shot.
All right. Throttle forward. Ignition on. Key.
Okay.
Key off. Ignition off. Release throttle.
Okay. We
In
do
theory,
that.
that is supposed to reposition the throttle positioner sensor
TPS sensor. That's a 3 times over.
3 times.
Not
yes.
working for us, but we're still in the hunting stage while we're ending up with an RPM of 5,000 RPMs. Was it 5,000 RPMs actual, or was it 2,000 RPMs?
No, it was up there. It was like
Because
5,000.
5,000 RPMs,
Yeah, we were
you
up
know, like, go ahead and start the bike. Let's see where that RPM's at right now. And then shut off 3 seconds. Crap, that's past. Okay, we're wide open throttle, WOT. All right, so we'll do another video on the follow-up of that.